How are we doing, KU Jayhawks basketball fans? This is Jayhawks Daily with your host, Nick Rondeau, here to talk about some KU ball. And boy, am I excited because KU's got a chance to do it again, and that is to land the number one recruit in the class once again, and that would be Tyron Stokes. And to be honest, I feel like it has been years before, and I sound so spoiled saying this. I feel like it had been years since we had gotten a guy, a number one, like a Darren Peterson for this upcoming class. And now we got a chance of going back to back. I haven't, I can't remember an exact time where that happened, but, I remember Andrew Wiggins, and boy, was that fun. And so I just, I see Tyron Stokes, and I see his film, and I see the highlights, and I just see some interviews. This guy's got swagger. And it's fun to be, and you expect that from number one recruit, but a guy who's got this much swagger, you just know they're going to not just succeed, but they're going to excel, they're going to thrive at, specifically at the college basketball level, but we know this guy's going to go pro a year later, but, it's just fantastic to see someone with his natural ability. He's a clear number one prospect across all recruiting boards. He's a consensus five-star. He is originally born in Louisville, Kentucky. He moved when he was 9. He moved out to San Diego, Atlanta for a little bit, and settled in Napa for high school. But, he does have that Louisville and Kentucky connection, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But, he's so natural. For a guy 6'7", he's got amazing handle, and, he'll block your shot. He'll wave a finger while still getting the ball and take it down to the other end. And he won't just dunk it. He'll maybe even just pull up and shoot a three, and it's just so effortless. It's just swagger that you expect from a number one, but you just get excited for that you've got a chance to get this guy in the building. So I can see why KU and Bill Self's staff brought him back in April. And I think a lot of that visit was to try to reclassify him for this year. I'm pretty sure they sold him big on the Darren Peterson package. I think they were going pretty present on that, saying, hey, you and him next year together. But I don't see Tyron Stokes doing that, clearly. He's pretty content with playing high school basketball. This upcoming season, his stock's only going to go up. I don't know how it could, but it just will. The kid is so incredibly talented. But he's got a very interesting kind of story. He's been to a couple high schools. He started at Prolific Prep, and he actually played with A.J. DeBonsa. So, he played with him at Prolific Prep, but then when A.J. DeBonsa reclassified to go up into 2025, AJ was originally number one, then became number two, we'll say, because Darren Peterson was number one. And Tyron Stokes slid right up to the number one spot again. So, he's just an interesting guy. He's already won multiple gold medals in FIBA championships under the age of 18. He still plays high school football, which, if you're watching this, Tyron, I doubt you are. Please, we understand it may be fun, and he really has made it clear he just wants to be a kid. But you're too good. You're going to be in the NBA in 2 years. Just, you see what LeBron did. He was amazing in high school. But let's get back on the court. But he's just got a lot of swagger, and he's got credible length. He can shoot super well from three, which you don't see from a guy 6'7" coming in like that, and it's just going to be very impressive to see him. But I do see. I'm not going to rule this one completely, out for KU. I think we're very much in it. I'd say we're a top 3, maybe even a top 2 choice for him, and we'll get into that right after this. But I could see us maybe pivoting to another option, maybe something I'll talk about later in the pod, maybe what we've talked about in the past, like a Taj Ariza. And I say cheaper option. We live in a different, day and era where genuinely you might have to pivot sometimes. It is getting down to the brass tacks. It's the numbers that are being sent to him. I don't know if we can afford it. I'm sure we could. We have a beautiful bankroll when it comes to the NIL, but I do have a feeling that, Bill has made it clear he might want to get a more well-rounded recruiting class. But if you got a chance for number one, and I know Bill knows this, it's you go for it. So we're going to also talk a little bit about his sweepstakes, just who's going after him, who really wants this guy. And like I mentioned, he is from Louisville, Kentucky, and the offers he's got from Kentucky, Louisville, Indiana, USC, Arkansas, and Oregon. And so Yes, he does have that connection. He played, that's when he grew up playing basketball, was in Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm sure that he still has plenty of family there. And, he's trending really hot for Kentucky recently. And Louisville was big. They have made it very clear there is number one. They want him more than anything. But Kentucky is really making a push. I mean, Mark Pope just recently visited him out in California again. They already had the visit back in June. I thought they were going to have a little bit of trouble with an NIL battle with other top recruits with Caleb Holt. They really like him, but he's probably going to be getting a lot of money, especially with the other sweepstakes in there as Auburn and Bama kind of pushing for him. But Louisville's made it clear that they're his number one, and you can never rule out someone's hometown. So it's just, is Lawrence, Kansas that way? No, I think it's like 500 miles away. But, he's from there. It's difficult to say if he's going to choose, he's also made it somewhat clear that he doesn't want to go to a place where it's just basketball. He wants to be seen as a person. And I think Bill Self relates more on the personal level than any coach in the world. I mean, the guy is everybody's best friend at a point. But, he just sometimes wants to be the kid, wants to be away from the media. That's why he's even handed off his media and commitment, media announcements to his mother. He's just kind of made that very clear. But I still see him as a very good option. He's got a couple more visits. He had a visit at USC earlier in September. He just visited Oregon last weekend. He's expected to visit Cal at Arkansas as well. But, Louisville, he had that visit last October. They went to his home again recently. I think it's going to be tough, obviously, as you'd expect from a number one. But I think KU is very much a name to watch out for. I'm not sure. But Louisville, Kentucky, and KU are my top three, and I'm going to put us at number two. And if we get him, that'll be wonderful. How could you not be excited to win the Stokes sweeps? Because that guy is unbelievably talented. And let's take him straight from Notre Dame High School, put him right in that KU. Oh boy, rock chalk. Next we're gonna go a little Maximo Adams. And like I was kind of saying before, and this could all be depending on some big names that are going to be coming up. Which small forwards are we going to get? We're going to get a few. We know that because we're going to need some, given some, talent going to the NBA potentially, some seniors graduating, some graduate transfers. And so that's going to be one Maximo Adams I want to look at here. And, he played at Sierra Canyon High School. He's already completed visits at USC, Kentucky, Michigan State. He's got Texas coming up next, UNC, Duke, everyone wants this guy because he's a 4-star. He's a 6'7" small forward. And again, he's got that West Coast connection like I've been saying for so long. 'Cause everyone's been playing out on the West Coast. This is why Bill Self had to make it very clear. I want Tony Bland. The guy's got a little bit of a good connection there. A lot of, you just see more games. You can get around to more events when you're out stationed on the West Coast for so long. So I do think that, there's potentially a good chance that, he's going to be heavily involved in that recruiting. But we also do have another slight connection. It's his older brother actually committed to KU basketball, Marcus. And so, again, it didn't work out for him. He ended up decommitting. He ended up going to Gonzaga. He left immediately. But, it's a small little KU connection we'll look at. And, his brother's now at Arizona State. So maybe he wants to, battle him in the Big 12. Who knows? That's we're one of the few Big 12 schools I guess he's looking at. But he's very talented. He's going to finalize his college choice, I would say, in the coming months. It's nowhere near soon, but he just did have that visit, and the fact that he had that visit makes me happy because you got people buzzing in KU. They just had a great game against West Virginia in football, absolutely whooped them. And, and just you got to remind the people when they come to a school like this. We're a basketball school. KU football, you're great and everything, but come on, KU is a basketball school. The environment's incredible. You can't pay heed to the fog. This is exactly what we are all about, and I think Maximo Adams would be great just because I love a good shooter. This guy is an unbelievable shooter. His mid-range shot is unbelievable. It reminds me of Kevin Durant almost, how smooth it is. But, again, the three-point ball, it's going to be great. It's just he's a great one-shot dribble kind of guy, almost like Klay Thompson has. Put it on the floor once, put it right in. It just gets enough space, enough kind of connection with the players he's around. But his ability is very unbelievable. And, He's also an excellent defender. He can guard 1 through 4 very easily, but I would say he'd probably be best defender of the 4. He's a little bit bigger frame, but just intelligent with the ball, very, very smart. So Maximo Adams, a guy to keep the name out for. I wouldn't be surprised, but again, coming in the recent, it'll be coming in the soon months. It would be interesting, but again, we'll see where the NIL shakes out. Who's going to be getting paid? Who's going to commit somewhere else? And Maximo Adams, that's a guy I'd love to have on this team next year, no matter who we get, because I always love a good shooter. Shooting, you could teach shooting, yes, but if you already have it, oh boy, that makes everyone's job so much easier. Okay, and last up, we're just going to talk about the big boys. I love the big man that we have this year. And I'm going to start this by saying I love Hunter Dickinson. He was a fun player. Did you buy that? Because I really tried. I mean, Hunter Dickinson, thank you for playing KU basketball. He bought in. He did almost everything you could ask for. But I'm sorry, where were your championship rings? Where were your dominant performances week in and week out against the top teams, the Houstons, the Arizonas? I love Hunter Dickinson. It was nice to have him. It was a huge transfer portal addition. Probably the best offensive big man I've seen Bill Self work with. But how many times do we see him get absolutely obliterated and drop coverages? It was so tough to watch. And that's why I think Paul Mbaya choosing KU over NC State, Flory Badunga coming back. I love an athletic big man who doesn't get picked on in the pick and roll. And Hunter Dickinson got picked on. And it was tough to watch at the end of the year when he was having bad turnovers. He was throwing shots off the top of the backboard almost. And again, I want to say this, thank you for coming, Hunter Dickinson. You're a Jayhawk for life because, leaving Michigan after a great run, that was fantastic. But Paul Mbaya, a 7-footer, 7'8" wingspan, from the Democratic Republic of Congo. But, he's not just, this completely raw type of player. He was a 2022 Basketball Without Borders All-Star selection. He was also, he did the NBA Academy in Africa. So, he has, kind of the newer to basketball feel, but he was just playing in the French Pro League for Asvel. So, he has serious competition already under his belt. He was originally going to go to NC State with the whole Will Wade project, but, the locker room got too big, it sounded like. Darren Williams coming in from Texas Tech. Thank you. Get out of the Big 12. We will take you, though. But, I think Paul's kind of just said, too many heads for me. I know what Bill Self can do with centers. I'm looking at Flory right now, how fantastic he is. I've seen Joel Embiid. I've even seen Udoka Azubuike still making it in the NBA. Yes, Azubuike. Love that guy. Sheik Diallo. Some of them don't always pan out. Not even going to mention Sylvia D'Souza. But I just this will all come and just have that athletic big man again. And Paul Mbaya, I could very much see by the end of the year being that starting 5. Him and Flory as a 4 and a 5 by the end of the year I don't think anyone's going to score a bucket on us. Flory pretty much shattered every single record for KU freshman blocks. He averaged 3.5 a game. He had 8 in one game. I don't even know it was 10. And you're adding another guy with a 7'8" wingspan in it. And Paul averaged 4 blocks a game in the French Pro League. No one's going to be able to score at the paint around us. And I just think at the end of the year, when you've got 2 athletic, quick-footed guys like that, yes, quick feet, Hunter Dickinson, sorry for the hate, but I just it's just going to be a whole different ball game. I think that's where KU really succeeds. Rely on that wing player, that point guard to dominate, whether it's a Frank Mason, whether it's a Malik Newman, those guys who can dominate with, scoring and don't have to rely on the big man scoring. And you just have a big man getting 10 and 10, 10 and 8 for all I care. 8 and 8, I don't care. Just get rebounds, play good defense, and just stay athletic. And that's exactly what we have. That recipe has worked. Whoa, throw back to the Landon Lucas. Shout out Landon Lucas, an excellent 10 and 10 guy for KU. An unsung hero on every single one of the teams. It's just that's what I think Bill is going for here. They're incredibly talented. The ceiling is very high with Paul Mbaya. I'm not, just saying that his ceiling is a 10-10 guy. I just am very excited. We have got a big man with that kind of skill set. That skill set who can rim run, take it absolute, big post move, hook dunk. I mean, quick first steps. This is what we needed. Flory's going to teach him everything he knows. He's going to, quick everything within the 18. If he gets a jumper, could be completely over. But I'm just pumped. The Jayhawks have got it buzzing. I'm pumped. I'm going to keep talking about these big men. I'm going to keep talking about the team this year. I'm going to talk about the boys we're getting next year, the year after that. I'm talking about Bill Self, the coaching staff, everything, because this is Jayhawks Daily, and this is KU Ball, and I love Jayhawks. Like, subscribe, comment, please, guys. I appreciate it. But rock chalk, baby. Go Hawks.